So I've done videos about how to worship the gods, but why do we worship the gods? So I was watching a movie I really enjoy for fun. It's a popcorn flick, and that is the 2010 remake of Clash of the Titans. And I've seen this movie a lot of times, and Wrath of the Titans as well. And I seen it, but it never really clicked until this last time, where the whole plot of the movie is them, the gods, wanting the mortals to worship them again, because in the films, in both of them, the mortals die without our worship. That's what keeps them immortal, so they live off of our worship. But in reality, that is not the case. So the philosopher I always go back to, Celestias, if you could guess, had things to say about why we worship. He said, by prayers and sacrifices, we find forgiveness of sin, and that is not Christian sin. That is basically, he's saying, by prayers and sacrifices, we align ourselves back into focus of being good. And so, prayers and sacrifices, we find forgiveness of sin. We do not appease or change the gods, but by what we do and by turning towards the divine, we heal our own badness and so enjoy the goodness of the gods. To say the gods turn away from the evil is like saying the sun hides itself from the blind. So the gods do not need our worship, and it does not appease the gods when we pray. It just puts us back in line, and it puts our focus back into being a better person. So it goes on to say that this solves the question about sacrifices and other rites performed to the gods. The divine itself is without needs, and the worship is paid for our own benefit. So the divine itself is without needs, again I say, and the worship is paid for our own benefit. The province of the God and gods reaches everywhere and needs only some congruity for its reception. All congruity comes about by representation and likeness, for which reason the temples are made in the representation of heaven, the altar of earth, and the images of life. That is why they are made like living things. The prayers of the element of the mystic letters of the unspeakable celestial forces, and the herbs and stones of matter, and the sacrificial animals of the irrational life in us. From all these things the gods gain nothing. What gain could there be to God? It is we who gain some communion with them. So he's going to go on to say that we also worship, not because the gods need our worship, but it puts us again in line with the gods to be able to commune with them. And I'll read just a little bit more, and then we'll talk about that. He says, I think it well to add some remarks about sacrifices. In the first place, since we have received everything from the gods, it's only right to pay the giver some tithe for his gifts. We pay such a tithe of possessions and votive offerings, of bodies and a gift, such as hair and adornment, and of life in sacrifices. Secondly, prayers without sacrifices are only words. With sacrifices, prayers are live words. The words give meaning to life, and while the life animates the word. Thirdly, the happiness of every object is its own perfection, and perfection for each is communion with its own cause. For this reason we pray for communion with the gods, since therefore the first life is life of the gods. But human life is also a life of a kind, and human life wishes to commune with the divine life. A mean terms is needed, so this is why we give offerings. For things very far apart cannot have communion without a mean term, and the mean term must be like the things joined. Therefore, the mean term between life and life must be life. That is why men sacrifice animals. Now, only the rich do so now, but in the old days everybody did. and that not indiscriminately, but given the suitable offerings to each God together with a great deal of other worship. So we give offerings and sacrifices, again, to commune with the gods. So there you go, guys. If you ever wondered why we worship the gods, that's why. It's to commune with them, and as Celestias said, offering and prayer makes the worship live, and we are able to commune with the gods. And it is connect with divinity and to say thank you. Thank you for life, and thank you for everything we have. So the gods do not need our worship. They will not die without our worship. So the film got it wrong. Surprise, surprise, you know. But I still enjoy watching these popcorn films. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye.